Hey guys, what's up? It's Alec Torelli. Welcome back to the Tandem Day from beautiful, sunny Orange County, California. I just finished working with a client at this beautiful golf course, and I wanted to share with you a hand from a 1-3 cash game that my client was playing. And this hand kicks off in a live game, and the under the gun opens to $20, and my client's on the button with Queen 10 offsuit, and she opts to call. And the stacks are playing very deep, and the under the gun player is pretty bad, and so I think typically this is a fold here, especially facing an under the gun open and a large bet size. But if you're playing against bad players, what you can do is adjust your calling hands to play more hands against them. So you want to think about your strategy in a poker game, not just like, oh, I have this hand in this seat, I'm going to call, but you want to adjust these strategies based on who's in the pot and what your skill edge is against that player. So you want to target the bad players, the players that are worse than you, and you want to play more hands against them. And when there's a better player in the pot, the same hand from your point of view might be a fold, whereas when you're playing against a bad player, it might be a call, because you know against the bad player, you're not going to lose a lot of money post-flop. You're going to be facing easy decisions, and if you hit your hand, you can win a lot of money. So this hand's borderline. If I was suited, I would definitely call. If my hand was better, like Queen Jack, I would probably call, or maybe Jack 10 I would prefer, because it always makes the nut straight. Queen 10's borderline, but if I'm in the mood, okay, fine, we go with it. Small blind calls, we go three ways to the flop. The flop comes down King Jack 7 with King Jack of clubs. We have no clubs in our hand, so we don't block any flush draw combos. The small blind checks, under the gun bets 30, and we have a very clear call. Definitely don't want to get raised and get blown off our hand. If we had a club in our hand, I might be okay with a raise, because then we could rep clubs on the turn. We'd have more equity. But with this spot in this hand, against under the gun, this board definitely hits the types of hands that under the gun is raising and c-betting with. I would just opt to call and take my equity on the turn. So we call, the small blind calls as well, and now we go three ways to the turn. The turn comes down to 3, so a complete blank. Both players check, and now it's on my client. She opts to bet 90 here, which is pretty okay. I like this bet. I like betting because if they don't have a king, they're probably going to fold. And we could also rep a king. We could have king queen. We could have slow played some hands on the flop, maybe. We could have king 10 and be betting here. So it's a pretty good bet here, because even if our opponent has something like a jack, you know, the small blind's not going to call with a jack with a player behind him. He might even fold some kings, probably not, but maybe he's going to fold some draws with one card to go. Someone probably has a flush draw because, you know, we don't have any clubs and there's two players in the pot. They're going to fold most of those hands. So I'm okay with betting here. If they have a hand like ace 10, ace queen, they're going to fold that as well. So we get a lot of better hands to fold. And if we're called, we can still hit our hand on the river and win a big pot. We go ahead and bet 90. The small blind folds, and now the under the gun calls. So I'd like you to pause this video, turn this from infotainment, like I always tell my clients, into actually something tangible and practical, and go ahead and tell me in a comment below, what types of hands does the under the gun have? Remember, they raise pre-flop under the gun, they bet the flop, and they check call the turn. So in this spot, you want to use what's called a hand range funnel. I call it a funnel because hand ranges start very wide, like a funnel. You want to imagine a funnel, they start wide, and they progressively get narrower throughout the hand. So as our opponent takes subsequent actions, his hand range or her hand range gets narrower, and there's fewer hands in their range. So in this spot, we could eliminate a lot of hands from our opponent's range simply because they raised pre-flop, they bet the flop, they check called the turn. So go ahead and leave me your thoughts in a comment below, and I would love to learn from you on what you think they have in this spot. If you want more from me to figure out exactly what your opponents are holding in the exact system that I teach to clients and I share with readers and students alike, go ahead and visit consciouspoker.com, enter your name and email anywhere on the site. It's totally free. I'll send you a PDF with exactly my step-by-step process that I use to teach people how to hand read in poker. So in this spot, I put them on most likely a king, maybe pocket queens, maybe a jack, but most likely a weak king. They don't want to inflate the pot. They don't probably have ace king, but they probably have something like king 10 or king queen. Those are the most common hands. I think if they had clubs, they would have bet again. Clubs would have continued bluffing, or maybe just check folded the turn. So he probably doesn't, or she doesn't probably have clubs, probably has a weak king. So once you think about what types of hands your opponent can have, middle strength bluff catchers like a jack or a king, you want to think about what your strategy is going to be against those hands on the river. because it's going to formulate your decision-making process. River comes a blank, opponent checks, pot's about 350, and now my client goes for this weird sort of small 125 bet. And here I'd like to challenge the logic and the strategy, because you want to think about what types of hands you're targeting. Remember, you're targeting these middle strength bluff catchers like a weak king, pocket queens, or a jack, and those hands are going to be getting 4-1 on the river. So you always want to think about the situation from your opponent's point of view. You want to put yourself in the shoes of your opponent and ask yourself, what would I do if I was them? Would you fold with a king when all the draws missed, getting a great price on the river? No, probably not, right? Especially if you're in a live game, or you're thinking about your opponent, not necessarily a great player in a live game. They're not going to make a hero fold getting a great price when all the draws missed, when all they have to do is call one bet and get the showdown. So in this spot, if you're going to bluff, which I don't recommend because all the draws missed, and if your opponent showed the tendency to call on the turn, nothing changes on the river, why would they change their mind? They already showed you they're going to call the turn. They're not, the board didn't change, so their mind isn't going to change. I'm not bluffing this river here. So if I do bluff though, I'm not going to give my opponent 4-1. I'm going to bet huge and represent a strong king, bet 300, and make it harder for him to justify calling with a jack or a queen. So my first plan is to check. My second plan is if I do bet, I'm going to make it very tough for them to call and bet very big. But my default plan is just to check because I don't think they're going to fold. So before we get to the results, if you like this video, do me a huge favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really does help. Let me know that you like this content and show this video to more people so I can keep producing awesome content like this for you to help you on your journey. So my client bets 125. The villain unfortunately calls. They show king 9. We lose ourselves a pot. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you took something away from it. If you are in SoCal or California in general, I'm going to be traveling around this area a lot. I'm working with a few clients around the state as well. Hit me up, shoot me a DM on social media, or email me, alec@consciouspoker.com if you want to work together. I'd love to help you on your poker journey. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for your attention. I'm Alec Torelli. I'll see you in the next one.